The Thal'Ruun capital sparkled like a gemstone balanced on a knife. Towers of shimmering obsidian cut through the lavender sky, reflecting twin suns and centuries of calculated ambition. To the untrained eye, it was a marvel of alien beauty. To Commander Jace Rowen, it was one hell of a killbox. The shuttle docked in absolute silence. No fanfare, no banners, no honor guard with ceremonial blades. Just an eerily empty corridor lined with sleek stone columns and motionless Thal'Ruun sentries with eyes like cracked glass. Subtle, Jace muttered. He stepped out wearing a simple diplomatic uniform, black and silver, Earth's seal on one shoulder, a small steel pin on the other. To most, it looked ornamental. In reality, micro-transmitter, directional beacon, also a surprisingly effective dart shooter. A Thal'Ruun emissary slithered forward, literally. Thin, 7-foot frame, layered robes, and 4 arms folded behind its back, eyes glowing faintly violet. Commander Rowen, welcome to Kyl'Ras, seat of the Thal'Ruun Dominion. Her Grace awaits. Jace smiled warmly. Can't wait to see her. Always nice when someone invites you to your own funeral. The emissary blinked, once, slowly, and gestured to the inner palace. 3 hours earlier, in Earth's orbit, a ship that officially didn't exist drifted within a cloaked observation bubble. The DSV Spectre. Every surface of the vessel was matte black, lined with distortion fields and signal silencers so advanced even the ship's own shadow needed clearance. Inside, 7 operators monitored the summit in real time. Lieutenant Maren Kess stared at the palace feed. Visual confirm, Rowen is walking into the palace. Zone 3 entrance, no ceremonial guards, flanking units stationary. Commander Ellis Grant folded his arms. They're playing the deception card early. Kess smirked. They don't know we shuffled the deck. Queen Zelthara reclined on her obsidian throne, her long silver headdress arching like wings around her in a halo of menace. Her court was filled with officials, dignitaries, and more than a few political parasites, all arrayed in semicircles below her. She turned to her aide, one of her most trusted generals. He came alone. Yes, Your Grace. As predicted. No armed escort, no armor, no visible tech. She exhaled smoothly, as if releasing the weight of certainty. Then today ends the human gamble. We shall weep before the council, and they will never question our retaliation. The general nodded. Your signal phrase? Zelthara smirked. Soon. I want to see him smile first. Jace entered the throne chamber like he'd been there a dozen times, unbothered, unhurried. He bowed politely, just low enough to meet alien expectations, just brief enough to remain human. Your Grace, I appreciate the invitation. Queen Zelthara extended one hand. We are honored by your presence, Commander. Today, the Dominion and Earth take their first step toward peace. Jace tilted his head. Peace. Is that what we're calling it? She smiled like a knife behind silk. What else would you call it? Jace stepped forward, scanning the room. Every face stared at him, judging, waiting, calculating. He answered softly, a test. Beneath the chamber's chandelier, a grand, multi-tentacled sculpture of glass and light, a small, invisible drone hovered in place, human-built, live-streaming, straight to the Galactic Council archives, every word, every glance, every betrayal. The feast began with elegance. Alien musicians played glass string instruments that shimmered like spiderwebs in moonlight. Dishes of exotic meats, fermented moon fruit, and glittering crystal fish lined the table. Jace poked at one of the dishes. Do the crystals bite back? The Queen laughed. Not unless you offend them. He leaned in, smiling. Good. I only offend monarchs. A flicker of tension rippled across the room. One of the Queen's inner circle coughed and reached for a drink to mask it. Jace saw it, filed it. The Queen raised her glass. To unity. To transparency, Jace replied, clinking gently. Back in the Spectre, Maren's display lit up. Voice match? To transparency. That's the phrase. It matches the intelligence drop. Ellis nodded. That's her kill command. Shall we interrupt? He shook his head. Number, let her deliver it. The Queen touched a crystal embedded in her ring, invisible to most, but not to Jace. In her language, the nanowaves signaled a neuro-agent release through the table's surface, harmless to Thal'Ruun biology, fatal to humans. It activated, and nothing. Jace took another sip of wine. Delicious, a bit dry. Vintage? Zelthara blinked. Imported. He leaned forward. You know, this wine reminds me of your entire assassination attempt. She froze. He smiled. Expensive, predictable, and it doesn't work. Gasps echoed around the room. One of her generals reached for his sidearm. Too late. Half the guards in the room turned in unison, blasters raised, not at Jace, at the Queen. Wait, she hissed, rising. From the chandelier, the drone dropped its cloak. A flicker of blue light activated its broadcast feed. Thal'Ruun Summit, timestamp confirmed, came an Earth-accented voice from the drone. This recording is being transmitted live to the Galactic Council. Please smile for the history logs. Jace stood slowly. I came here to sign a treaty, Your Grace, and I will. He stepped toward the throne, placing a simple data chip on the steps. A treaty of exposure. Zelthara backed away. You knew? Jace turned, speaking loudly to the room. Earth received word of your betrayal 7 days ago. We let this meeting proceed to identify every co-conspirator who stood by your side, to test who would watch murder and call it diplomacy. Behind him, disguised Earth agents among the guards dropped their facades, subtle cloaks rippling away to reveal black tactical gear with glowing Earth emblems. The Queen's voice cracked. You manipulated us. Jace looked her in the eye. We gave you a chance. On the Spectre, Ellis watched the data upload confirm. Galactic Council AI confirms the footage is genuine. We have formal clearance to proceed with Directive 7. Maren grinned. Shall I let the Dominion's rivals know Earth's available for a few alliances? Ellis nodded. Tell them we're bringing wine. Back in the throne chamber, Jace stood as chaos began to ripple. Queen Zelthara slumped into her throne, realization crashing over her like a storm tide. You were never here for peace. Jace's eyes gleamed cold and brilliant. I was here to see if you were worth it. He turned on his heel. Behind him, the court fractured, some kneeling to Earth's agents, others fleeing. And the Queen. She sat alone, her empire unraveling around her. Queen Zelthara had never been afraid of humans. Not really. They were clever, yes. Spirited, inventive, annoyingly persistent. But they lacked vision. They lacked the centuries of conquest, the refinement of interstellar diplomacy, the blood-born right to rule. The humans were supposed to be chaotic, but containable. Her court had called them interesting little animals. Now half of her inner palace guards had weapons trained on her. The other half were already dead. Above the planet, nestled in the atmospheric shadows of Thal'Ruun's twin moons, the DSV Spectre adjusted its cloak signature, shifting just enough to track the palace's energy grid. Lieutenant Kess monitored the feed with calm precision. Confirmation. Drone stream is still live. Galactic Council servers are replicating the footage. No interruptions. Commander Ellis Grant gave a quiet nod. Initiate post-event data package. Include intelligence trails, assassination signal logs, and diplomatic back-channel intercepts. Kess raised an eyebrow. We're dropping the full file? Let the galaxy see every lie she told. He glanced at the hologram display. Queen Zelthara's frozen face, caught mid-realization, captured in Ultra HD Betrayal. Ellis smiled faintly. History should have context. Back in the throne chamber, Queen Zelthara slowly rose, her headdress tilting like a fallen crown. This is treason, she barked, voice trembling. Jace Rowen stood unmoved, arms clasped behind his back, posture relaxed, as if he were giving a tour of a mildly disappointing museum. Treason requires loyalty, he said. You invited me to dinner with the intent to kill me. That makes you either a poor host or a very stupid one. She stepped forward. You dare insult the Dominion in our own hall. Your hall? Jace interrupted, gesturing around. Several guards, her former guards, stepped aside, revealing Earth agents now fully armed, scanning each corridor. This isn't your hall anymore, Zelthara. At that moment, the palace shields flickered, then shut off. A beat later, dozens of Earth orbital satellites, including 3 hovering invisibly over the city, activated their localized uplinks, pushing direct feed surveillance into public council channels. The entire capital, every screen, every feed, every comm unit, flashed with the Queen's betrayal. The toast, the poison command, the failed assassination. The moment she realized Jace Rowen was already 10 steps ahead, the galaxy watched in silence. Then the Council roared. On the other side of Thal'Ruun space, aboard the High Conclave warship Seraph's Eye, a fleet commander of the independent Veroni Syndicate leaned back and smiled. "Well," he muttered, "I'd been wondering when someone would finally outplay that smug lizard." His communications officer blinked. "Do we respond?" The commander swirled his drink. "Yes, send a diplomatic invitation to Earth. Tell them we're ready to talk trade." He raised his glass. "And that we're bringing better wine." Back in the throne chamber, Queen Zelthara's composure fractured. Her wings trembled, her voice, once icy and regal, now cracked with fear and fury. "You set me up." Jace shook his head slowly. "No, Queen, you set yourself up. We just gave you enough rope to tie the noose." She snarled. "You will regret this. You think you've won, but Earth is still small. We have allies. We have armadas." Jace walked toward her throne, not with menace, but with something worse. Confidence. "You do have allies," he said calmly. "Some of them are even watching this feed. And guess what? We saw them whispering. We saw the ones who looked away when you gave the kill command. We traced who funded the summit, who prepped the route of your poisoned shipment, who adjusted the feast seating arrangement so I'd be closest to the dispersion node." He stopped a few feet from her. "And now we have it all. Signed, sealed, and broadcast." Her eyes widened. Jace stepped closer. "This summit wasn't about peace, Zelthara. It was a stress test, one you failed. And now, you've just lit up every co-conspirator like a galactic bonfire." In a quiet, distant observatory deep within Council-controlled space, a Kalari envoy reviewed the feed in stunned silence. She turned to her superior. "Earth. Earth knew." The older envoy nodded. "And they chose this moment for maximum impact. Should we sanction them?" The superior exhaled through silken gills. "We should join them, before they find out we even hesitated." Jace turned and began walking out of the throne room. Queen Zelthara screamed, "You think you can just walk away?" He stopped, slowly looked over his shoulder. "I'm not walking away. I'm leaving you behind." Then added, "Try not to start another war. You've embarrassed yourself enough for 1 millennium." He paused at the door. "Oh, and that wine? Definitely not imported. Next time, go Earth vintage." As the Earth shuttle ascended from the palace landing platform, a column of human-cloaked operatives collapsed their gear, disappearing like ghosts. The palace stood exposed, stripped of secrets, its sensors fried, its networks hijacked, its royalty disgraced. Jace sat back in his seat as the shuttle cleared the skyline. "Status?" he asked calmly. A voice chimed through the comms. "Orbital sync successful. Global feed shutdown complete. Council acknowledgement pending. Spectre requesting permission to follow exfil protocol." Jace looked out the viewport, at the twin suns fading behind the mountain edge of the Thal'Ruun capital. "Permission granted. Let's go home." On Earth, the Council's official response came hours later. A single statement. Earth's restraint in the face of betrayal reflects their maturity as a galactic power. The Thal'Ruun Dominion Summit has been suspended. An investigation is underway. Unofficially, every race that hadn't taken humans seriously just updated their risk matrix. And Earth? Earth didn't say a word. They just poured a glass and waited. Queen Zelthara's throne still stood, but the room around it had emptied. Not all at once, no. That would have been dignified. Instead, it had happened in waves, quiet excuses, deferential bows, sudden urgent messages. By the end of the second solar cycle, her court held more echoes than ministers. Her loyalists were gone. Some defected, some disappeared, and some, she suspected, were waiting to see if her empire would implode before picking a side. She clutched the arm of her throne with white knuckles, all because of one human. Elsewhere, in the gilded tower of the Council Judiciary on Cineris Prime, a session had been called. Not a public vote, something quieter, meaner. 12 members sat behind gold-threaded partitions. One spoke. She broke the unanimous accord. Another nodded. And Earth proved it. without firing a shot. That's what scares me. Then perhaps we should fear them instead. The room fell into thoughtful silence. Then someone chuckled. Or make friends, before they decide we belong in a documentary titled Species Who Messed Around and Found Out. On Earth, the response had been muted. No flags, no fireworks, no victory dances. The footage went viral in minutes, yes. Every corner of the net hosted memes, reaction clips, dramatic recreations, some performed by cats in CGI armor. But Earth's leadership, dead silent. They didn't boast, they just smiled and kept meeting. Inside a low-lit diplomatic hall in New Geneva, Jace Rowen sat across from the Kalari ambassador, a jellyfish-like being suspended in a fluid pod, its tendrils moving with slow grace. "You handled the Thal'Ruun with elegance," the Kalari said in a musical hum. "Appreciate that," Jace replied, sipping his espresso. "Didn't want to stain the rugs." The ambassador tilted. "You humiliated her before half the galaxy." Jace gave a tired smile. "She humiliated herself. We just live-streamed it." The ambassador floated closer. "And now, the galaxy shifts." Jace nodded. "The old guard is cracking. Earth's place is no longer negotiable." Back on Thal'Ruun Prime, Zelthara was trying to contain the bleeding. Every hour brought a new fracture. First, the Neskari Syndicate pulled their merchant fleets from Thal'Ruun space. Then, the Zavari declared neutrality in Dominion affairs. Then, the Grell Consulate offered Earth a trade pact publicly and sent Zelthara a fruit basket privately, rotten fruit. Worse, the internal leaks. Within days, members of her military command began leaking classified documents. Council officials received dossiers showing how deeply the Queen had planned to provoke war with Earth. Some leaks even included her practice assassination speeches. There was even a PowerPoint, complete with transitions and sparkles. In a private chamber beneath her palace, Zelthara screamed at her spymaster. "You were supposed to control internal comms." The spymaster was sweating, a hard task for a cold-blooded species. "Your Grace, Earth's infiltration was surgical. They embedded false protocols inside our AI. Our systems are purging themselves. Save it," she hissed. She turned to her war advisor. "Mobilize the fleet." The advisor hesitated. "To attack Earth?" "No," she spat. "To show we still have power. We parade through neutral sectors. We remind them the Thal'Ruun are not finished." He bowed. "Yes, Your Grace." She didn't see his eyes dart to the security feed as he turned away. Didn't notice that he left his comlink on, and didn't know that transmission was being copied in real time by a satellite Earth had hidden inside one of her own moons. On board the DSV Spectre, Commander Ellis watched the feed come in. "She's getting desperate." Lieutenant Kess adjusted her headset. "Mobilizing ships, but no actual attack orders yet." Ellis nodded. "She's posturing, still trying to bluff her way out. And if she goes further, then we let her." He turned to the comms officer. "Send a message to the Council. Earth will not respond unless fired upon. But if fired upon, we will end it. Briefly." Kess exhaled. "That's going to trend." Ellis smiled. "We're not trying to look scary. We're just telling the truth." In the far reaches of the Tyrian Belt, where mercenary guilds made and unmade alliances over drinks, Earth's name became gold. The moment Zelthara's betrayal went public, bounty contracts for Earth diplomats were quietly pulled from black market boards. The price of stolen Earth tech doubled. Guilds that once considered humans weird mammals with short lifespans now referred to them with terms like strategic nightmares. The smiling problem. Those bastards who turned a dinner party into a political execution. Queen Zelthara paced her throne room alone. The throne itself had grown smaller. Somehow, she hadn't left it in days. Her aides whispered behind closed doors. Her generals avoided her eyes. And her enemies, they were smiling at her in council halls. Earth hadn't attacked her, hadn't blockaded, hadn't retaliated. They didn't need to. They'd let her set fire to her own empire, and just filmed it. In Earth's strategic council room, Jace sat with Ellis and Lang, sipping tea. Lang scrolled Galactic net headlines. "Earth outsmarts Thal'Ruun, diplomacy or psychological warfare. Queen ghosted by entire council, humans not even gloating, that we can tell. New game, spot the Earth operative in old summit photos. Spoiler, he's everywhere." Ellis smirked. She's going to try something big soon. Lang nodded. Cornered animals do. Jace stood and stretched. Then let's make her think she's still got moves to play. Lang blinked. Wait, are we baiting her again? Jace grinned. She thinks she's on the board. Let's show her she's been playing on our training simulation the whole time. It began with a transmission. Encrypted, high frequency, broadcast from a stealth relay hidden deep within the Thal'Ruun nebula. Phase Ember initiated. That was it. No preamble, no threat. Just 3 words sent from a Dominion fleet command node to every active battle group loyal to Queen Zelthara. 16 Dread-class cruisers, 22 assault frigates, and 1 planetary disruptor platform, still untested, but terrifying on paper. This wasn't a war declaration. This was spectacle. At the center of it, Queen Zelthara stood inside her command tower, wings high, headdress gleaming with ceremonial metal. The throne room now converted into a tactical operations chamber. She faced the live stream, a private broadcast directed to the Galactic Council, Earth, and every non-aligned observer still pretending to be neutral. My people, she declared, the Thal'Ruun Dominion has endured humiliation at the hands of those who pretend at peace but act as deceivers. Her voice rang through crystal columns as her officers and aides nodded behind her. Most were new faces. Loyalists, she assumed. I sought peace. Earth spat on it. I offered alliance. They mocked it. I welcomed a guest. They sent a spy. She gestured, and on cue, holograms flickered above her. Jace Rowen's face, Earth's agents in her court, the failed assassination taken out of context. This is not an act of war. This is correction, and the galaxy must choose. In Earth's orbit, the DSV Spectre received the stream in real time. Lieutenant Kess muttered, "She's officially lost the plot." Commander Ellis Grant didn't blink. Number. She's trying to reframe the narrative. She's rolling out ships, big ones. Ellis checked the screen. Yeah, but look at the formation. Kess narrowed her eyes. It's theatrical. She's not preparing for combat. She's posing for the cameras. Back on Earth, in the Geneva Strategic Chamber, Jace Rowen watched with arms crossed. She wants the Council to think we've pushed her into a corner, he said. Martyr mode, crisis propaganda. If we attack her now, we look like aggressors. Lang, lounging beside him with a stylus between his teeth, smirked. So let her scream. We'll whisper. While the Dominion ships formed an aggressive triangle across the Zaran Drift, Earth's response was peculiar. They did not launch fleets. They did not issue ultimatums. They invited the Queen to a debate. Live. Council broadcasted, unedited. Moderator, a neutral AI from the Visari coalition. Location, neutral ground, orbiting the twin stars of Kerith. Subject, the viability of Earth-Thal'Ruun relations. Zelthara scoffed when the invite arrived. A debate, pathetic, but her advisors nodded. You'll win. This is the chance to spin everything. Frame Earth as manipulative. Show them we're victims. She agreed. After all, what could Earth possibly say? The debate chamber was minimalist. Translucent walls, floating seats, live data overlays hovering like slow auroras. Council members attended remotely via shimmering avatars. Earth's delegation arrived precisely on time. Jace Rowen stood in a simple black tunic, unarmed, hands folded neatly. Queen Zelthara arrived 30 seconds later, flanked by armed ceremonial guards. Theatrics again. The AI moderator's voice was soft and level. Opening statement, Queen Zelthara. She stood. With respect to the assembled species, I speak not as an aggressor, but as a sovereign betrayed. My intentions toward Earth were peace, yet they came cloaked in secrets, with spies under robes and weapons behind smiles. Murmurs. A few nods. Then, Commander Rowen. Jace stood. Queen Zelthara is correct. We did arrive with hidden tech, with internal agents, with cloaked surveillance. Gasps. Audible shock. Zelthara blinked. Because, Jace continued, we were invited to a peace summit where we knew, in advance, the main dish would be us. He raised a hand. The chamber dimmed. And then, it played. The footage. The full, unedited feed. Zelthara's voice, the activation phrase, the exact moment the neural toxin was released, her expression as nothing happened. The council watched in silence. Then the other footage played, the intercepted private meeting where she rehearsed her grieving speech, the shipment logs showing toxin transport under diplomatic cargo, the intercepted conversation with a Jalari emissary who promised post-assassination support. Zelthara's eyes widened. This is manipulated. This is staged. Jace tilted his head. Then perhaps you'd like to explain this. One final hologram, a wide-angle shot of her throne room taken 2 weeks before the summit, a secret planning session. The drone, hidden in the chandelier the entire time. Unbeknownst to the Queen, Earth had been watching long before she thought she'd begun to play the game. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. The moderator's voice broke it. "Queen Zelthara, would you like to revise your testimony?" She stood frozen, and then, slowly, sat. For the first time in her reign, Queen Zelthara said nothing. The fallout came fast. The council suspended all Dominion voting rights. Every military ally dropped diplomatic ties. Economic sanctions flowed like water. Earth? Earth didn't demand reparations. They simply released a final statement. Let the galaxy decide who came in peace and who dressed war in pearls and poison. In her final days in power, Queen Zelthara stood alone in her shattered throne room, the ceremonial crown resting on a table beside her. No guards, no advisors, only a message. From Jace. Just a single sentence. "You thought we were playing your game. We were just studying it before designing a better one." In orbit, the DSV Spectre prepared to return to Earth. Ellis turned to Kess. "Think she learned anything?" Kess shook her head. She thought betrayal was a tactic. Ellis chuckled. She didn't realize for humans, it's a countermeasure. Queen Zelthara's crown didn't fall. It was set down, with quiet fingers, on a silent table, in a room now stripped of banners and marble dignity. Outside her palace, what remained of the Thal'Ruun dominion held its breath. There had been no assassination, no revolution, no explosion in the night. But there didn't need to be, because the Queen of the Thal'Ruun didn't rule anymore, not officially, not publicly, and not effectively. Earth never declared war. They simply made her irrelevant. The Galactic Council convened for its final ruling within a solar week. 397 representatives filled the chamber. Species of all forms and forms of no species, energy clusters, talking fungi, telepathic dolphins in containment suits. The air was heavy with caution. No one wanted to be the next headline. The ruling was simple. The Thal'Ruun Dominion would be removed from High Council status. Their military operations would be overseen by neutral observers. Their trade embassies would be reopened, under Earth's mediation. And their queen, stripped of diplomatic immunity, permanently. The Council didn't issue a sentence, because Earth didn't request one. They didn't need vengeance. They had victory. Jace Rowen watched the Council proceedings from a quiet observation deck aboard the DSV Spectre, orbiting Earth. Ellis stood beside him. "She'll probably vanish," Ellis said. "Into exile. Our house arrest under a new name." "Fine by me," Jace muttered, sipping from a metal mug. "She's no longer a queen. She's a cautionary tale." Lang strolled in, tossing a datapad onto the table. "Council just approved a new diplomatic bloc. Earth's leading it. Kalari, Veroni, even 2 of the formerly neutral powers." Jace raised an eyebrow. "The same ones who sold arms to the Thal'Ruun?" Lang grinned. "Now they're selling us apologies." Back on Thal'Ruun Prime, Zelthara walked alone through her personal garden, what remained of it. No servants, no guards, no reporters. Only birds. Earth birds, in fact. One of the human diplomats had gifted her 2 Terran songbirds years ago. They'd survived the fallout. Somehow. She stood beneath the crooked arc of a marble tree and whispered, "I should have waited." A voice answered, "Not human, not Thal'Ruun, neutral. You didn't understand them." She turned to see a Kalari diplomat floating in his containment pod. "They do not provoke. They plan. They do not shout. They record. They do not retaliate in anger." He floated closer. "They retaliate in strategy." Zelthara looked at him bitterly. "Are you here to laugh?" "No," he said softly. "I'm here to learn." In a newly constructed interspecies summit hall on Mars, a place now known as the Crimson Accord, Earth hosted its first official high-level talks with 11 species. No guards lined the walls, no weapons, just one sign above the entrance. Trust is earned. Betrayal is permanent. Jace walked the corridor in silence before stepping into the main hall. He wore no uniform, just a simple black coat and a pin bearing Earth's old emblem, one that predated Earth's entry into galactic politics. Inside, a Kalari ambassador smiled. "Commander Rowen, we were wondering, would Earth consider mentoring our new ambassadorial corps?" Jace raised an eyebrow. "In diplomacy?" "Number in strategy." He smirked. "Same thing." Across the galaxy, new stories began replacing the old myths. No longer was Earth referred to as the young species still finding their place. Now they were called the quiet chess masters, the species you should never try to frame, the Deathworlders who don't flex, they film. Galactic academies even introduced a new term, the Rowen Doctrine. Never try to destroy a species you haven't finished studying, because if it's human, they already studied you first. Back in New Geneva, inside a debriefing room far from the spotlight, Jace sat across from a fresh recruit, young, sharp-eyed, clearly nervous. "Sir," the recruit asked, "is it true the Queen's original poison was Earth-made?" Jace raised his eyebrows. "Technically. She tried to use Earth tech to kill an Earth diplomat." Jace sipped from his mug. "She didn't just underestimate us." He leaned forward. "She borrowed our tools, thinking she could understand them. That's the most human thing she ever did." The recruit swallowed hard. "And that's why she lost?" Jace gave a slow, half-smile. "Number she lost, because she assumed we'd play fair." A week later, a diplomatic message arrived from a remote star cluster. Unknown species, coded greeting. They referenced Earth's handling of the Thal'Ruun situation. They requested talks, peace talks. But one sentence in the message stood out. "We understand now. Earth does not shout to be heard. Earth whispers, and the stars go silent to listen."